What's up, amigos? Commander Jaime here today, and I'm super excited to do one last metagame coverage with featuring a guest, KSC's Crow. Crow, you want to say hi in a few words?
What is good, YouTube?
It's been a while.
It has. It's been a good minute. Well, how's everything been going for you?
Pretty well. Like, one of the things too with BCS, like everybody's trying to like qualify for Worlds, and I've already had a few people that want to get some practice into, so I'm gonna help those people out so they do good, you know. At the end of the day, I want them to have like, you know, good memories and then have a great experience as well. So that's really where my focus has been as a competitive player right now. How about you as you wrapped up your season?
I feel that too. Same thing. I was trying to qualify for Worlds this season. Unfortunately, I did not. In Houston, kind of came up short. Well, came up short, but in Duluth, I came up shorter, only being like one round away from each format, B Premium and Premium. But outside of that, I kept telling myself this season that I'm not really too, like, if I qualify. If I don't, I don't. I'm fine. Yeah. I feel like I have nothing else to really prove as a player anymore. More so, I want to help the community out as a whole. So players that want to get their first top or want to get their Worlds invite, or players that might have never topped and got their World invite now, I want to give my, be accessible to them to be able to do well as well.
Amen. I'll add to that as well, because like, once you've done it the first time, it's awesome. But like after you do, so many times, it only gets so fulfilling when you're, and it's just by yourself. But then when you start helping other people able to do the same thing or reach a goal that they're trying to accomplish, it's much more fulfilling at that point too. So definitely understand where you're coming from. So thank you for your also contributions to the community in your own way. I appreciate that. With talking about today's video, we're going to cover like the overall theme. So we're not going to go super in depth in like each BCS that's happened. This is really covering from November to December, the end of the season. We're going to start off with standard and then really just go from there. Yeah, so with Germany, we can see like the Mascus decks, and if I go into their top 4, we see like 3 of them topping. Do you have any input on the Mascus decks by chance, Crow?
Yes, so the Mass decks going to like, especially I think at this time Gandiva was still full power, correct? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, this is before the ban list, yep.
Yes, okay, so with the introduction of Orpheus Mask and of course Greedon Mask, those decks are very, very strong. I would sit there and say this Greedon Mask was a very underrated deck at first. Nobody really knew what to do with this deck. And everybody kind of just overlooked it because it was, overshadowed by like everything else that was in that set.
True.
And then afterwards, people started realizing, oh, this deck is actually good. And you only have to eat 3 guys that's standing. That means I can have an attacker or 2 attackers now on top of my 2 Vanguard Queens, guaranteeing 4 attacks.
Oh, yeah. It reminded me of like Revengers a little bit.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking about. And then with Orpheus Mask, obviously that deck speeds volumes on its own. That deck is very, very strong. Pretty good early game, really good rush. Good draw power. The only thing is with Mass decks, they are prone to bricking because not saying Mass kind of sucks, but once you get the game plan going, it's very hard to beat those decks. And the biggest thing as well is that I'll kind of talk about the JP meta because I also follow that a lot as well.
Sure.
If you're actually looking at JP right now, I think they've already hit set 13. They are now having their triple job booster. That being said, that also introduced a new deck that's kind of shaping up the meta. But as you can see, like in the WGPs and stuff like that, Orpheus keeps sneaking into top 8, if not top 4. So that speaks volumes on its own.
No, I agree. It also speaks about the like longevity of a deck too, which is really good because players want to invest in one of the decks that can at least last them for a while too.
Correct.
And transitioning to like BCS Houston, we saw more Mascus decks, and they also like one of the new Bastion stuff came and snuck in, and they got second, but we can still see representation of Gandiva and also like Mascus Greedon over here.
And we have a random straggler there, one of my favorite units in Overdress.
Random. Because
you just don't see it. Ever since BT07, after that set, you've kind of just started falling off slowly and slowly and slowly. And to the point where once Gandiva came out, the deck was pretty much irrelevant at that point because it got overshadowed by like Greedon, Gandiva, even Omni Garugio. Like people were using Wallista as well. But Bastion, I'm not too surprised about. Granted, they didn't have Sapien Hour just yet, but the deck is very, very strong. I can't remember the grade 3 name. That's a 23k beater on its own. Technically 28 with Bastion skill, but that card is broken. If you high roll your opponent and you slap that card down on turn 3, it's not really much you can do because Overdress doesn't have a bunch of shield value just yet because we're still waiting on that defensive creep, which I'm very shocked that the Greedon actually got 4th and not 3rd. And the only thing I can assume is what we just talked about in the previous slide, that mass decks are prone to bricking. So I think if you're going to take a deck to a BCS,
right,
I think at this specific time of post, like pre-ban list, Gandiva was definitely the move, and Willista, which again, it's crazy that you don't see any Willistas anywhere.
Yeah, at least with these BCSs that I pointed out for sure.
Right, it was all up in like WGPs or JP format, but it just seems like in the States, and you just don't really see them.
Yeah, it also depends on the popularity of the players playing the actual deck too. I think if there's some type of aesthetic that players just lean more into, or maybe they just get tired of playing the same deck and want to try something new as well.
The Dawn, everybody loves the Dawn.
I know, right? It's like the Godfather kind of deal.
Right.
And so what's interesting too, BCS Mexico, like,
This one.
had no Mascus decks. Not only that, but they also had Ezo and Roroa. And what's really cool is that Roroa actually got first in this one.
So I have a hot take on this. You
Sure,
know,
go for it.
I down this hill. So Roroa actually low-key has a really good matchup into Gandiva. Reason being is because you just make a board full of tokens, and then the token dragon. I think is it grade 1? Yeah, is it grade 1 or grade 0?
I think it's grade 0.
So if it's grade 0, it feels really bad for the Gandiva player, because you can only pop one, and you only pop a non-resource card because they're just going to generate more tokens anyway, with the burrow mushrooms, the ride lines, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And the fact that Gandiva, because it can't pop off until turn 3, and they have to see their pieces. So a lot of times they might not have shield, they might have a bunch of pieces because during their mulligan they're trying to get like I think his name's Sturgna. I can't remember the grade 3.
Sturgna. Yep.
People, they're trying to hold on to those because that's the only way you can accelerate to get that binds on ready. You hold on to a bunch of pieces and no shield, Roroa eat you alive in the early game.
Yeah. And as I interviewed this player too, he mentioned that he really capitalized on the early game. As soon as turn 1 started, he was already throwing down pieces or creating tokens and just hitting face. What's just also cool is that sometimes like just having that pressure and then, a little bit of luck on your side with like crits or something can really set a lot of decks behind by turn 3. And it puts them in a situation where they can't necessarily just come back without like feeling like they have to push, but at the same time give up some type of advantage to survive like the following turn. So as he explained that, it's a simple technique, but it's very effective, especially with certain decks that just can't deal with rush. And I think you hit the nail on the coffin with Sturgna. Like if people are trying to hurt like grade 3s in hand, or if you're going against Mascus decks, they have orders in hand. Like it's 0 shield essentially too. You can't do nothing about it.
Yeah, the deck is very, I won't say good, it's very decent, but if I use Derek Dow for example. The reason why he won, I can't remember which event it was, but it was for premium when he took Hari. Now, he made a good meta call during that time. He said, I'm expecting it to be very little Gradora right now, so Pale Moon will probably be the best deck to take at this moment. But if he would have went to another event and would have took Hari, I'm not saying that he won the top, because he's a very high caliber player, top level player at that.
Right, I agree.
But he might have run into more bugs, which is a hard losing matchup. So
it's hard with that
this
matchup.
Player here, Gustavo, probably the same thing, had the same mindset that Derek Dow did. I'm expecting a bunch of Gandiva. I'd say Roroa, you can't kill my resources, and I can rush you early because you don't pop off to turn 3. So by the time turn 3 roll around, you're probably at 3, 4, maybe 5 damage. So yeah.
It's a solid strategy. Like it's from event to event, because like it depends on the region, it depends on the timing. Like all those factors can really help you make it to the top tables. And Gustavo was really humble about it too. He was also like, it's one of his favorite decks too. So like as a player, like you still have your own picks, your own favorites that you want to take, and you feel like that's a good meta call on top of that. That's like a double bonus. Like you're double dipping on that essentially.
Exactly. That's how I felt at Worlds when I took War, and I was like, I think this is the best deck.
Right, exactly. Going into Duluth, this is another regional that you were in person, and so this is how the standard distribution turned out. And then if we go to I did not have the top 4 for Duluth. Oh well. Let's talk about it this way.
I do know that, I think I recall the top 4 if I'm not mistaken off the top of my head. I want to say it was, now that top 8 Zorga player is actually a Kingslayer member as well, by the way. KSC Zoran. He piloted that deck very, very well, but unfortunately he did die in top 8. I can't remember what he fought against, but also 2 out of the 1 Bastion players I actually seen. One of the girls actually played one of my Georgia locals that was on Greedo himself. It wasn't in the top tables, but it was the round right before to see who gets into top 8. Oh, wow. And that match was actually insane. Like,
I bet
my homie couldn't break the block, so he couldn't pass. So his hand was pretty healthy, actually. He actually had game on a follow-up.
Yeah.
The girl that was playing Bastion, really, really good, really good humble girl. And it's so funny. Just a minor quick story before we straight too far away. The girl that actually got top 8, her mother also plays Vanguard, and so does her brother. And they was all together watching her play and qualify for top 8.
Wow! So all three of them qualified, or just?
So the son had gotten top 8. I'm not sure if it was at Duluth or if it was at another BCS. I want to say it was another BCS. He got top 8, but
gotcha.
But the girl got top 8 this one this time around. But I think she did. I think she did die off in top 8 if I'm not mistaken.
I gotcha.
But she on a crackback term, my homie was blocking. She goes. Check, I think it was like a crit or something else, a blank. And I'm sorry, she swung with Vanguard, check, blank and something else. Reached the grade 3 that's really big, gets the additional 10K. She swung with it, and he was looking at his hand. I think he was like 4 damage, and he blocks it for a no pass. I think it was a no pass or a 2 to pass for fluidity.
That'll do it.
No, actually, he was at 5 damage, if I'm not mistaken. He was at 5.
Oh, so it's like he had a double heal at that point.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Well, no, he's on Orpheus Mask himself, so sorry, he's on Greedown Mask. So yeah, he dies at 7.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, he dies at 7. He was at 5.
That was actually perfect to hit the actual 7th damage at that point. I gotcha. Okay, that's really cool. And then lastly, Anaheim happened. They had 2 blocks, and they had block B, so we could start there and we could see the top 4. What's interesting is that we do see one Mask stacks, but we see Minerva again.
Nothing is too surprising, to be honest with you. Minerva is really strong, especially this set. I will say that post set 13, his deck will fall off, unfortunately, as much as I love Minerva. Yeah. The promos for the deck, promo for the deck, and on top of the grade 1 really pushed this deck to another level. Being able to reset your the cards that you can call out of soul, and I'm also being able to add like Persona Ride back or any other combo pieces you need. It's insane. The thing is, what really keeps getting me, like I said, I'm not too surprised Bastion keeps stopping, because if you high roll your opponent, it just kind of steamrolls them. Yeah. But the biggest shocker to me is the fact they don't have Sapient Owl, which that card is broken, because being able to get your Bastions back in soul for your prime turn, being able to get a counter charge off so that way you can continue to extend combos after you all in or, formable Chosen Knight. Yeah. The Zorga player, obviously Zorga's good. Being able to reset your call out dragons, get them like at least 4 attacks off because of the grade 2. Yeah. And then on top of that, being able to get cycle back PGs or your over trigger if you had to guard with it defensively with the dog is really good. And of course, Orpheus Mask speaks on its own.
Yeah, I can speak with Zorga too. Like, I know that like if you can get your prison dragons like consistently and as soon as possible, like Zorga can really put people on their toes, even with just 3 attacks. And then you have the 4th attacker just come out about as supplemental, or some people do focus on that too. That helps a lot. And the bouncing of PGs is so like critical. Like you'd be surprised like how reoccurring PGs can keep you in the game so long. Yep. And eventually Zorga has time to actually like seal the deal essentially. Going into V Premium, and so in the beginning of November we started seeing a lot of like different clans, but we saw higher representation of blue clans. I know Devlin and I covered this where we see Bermuda Triangle, Night Rose, and also like essentially. What's your thoughts on that, Crow?
When the Ordination attack, it's not Avatar. But my thoughts on this is it's kind of be expected, to be honest with you. Anj has been a very strong deck since it released. Night Rose with it's always been, let me do this real quick.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. So with the representation of blue clans, it's kind of be expected, to be honest. Anj has been a very strong deck since the release. Night Rose has been too, and so has Thobis. But Germany did not have access to the promo, correct me if I'm wrong.
For Anj or Bermuda? Yeah, I think Anj. Night Rose just got her promo.
Okay, so with the introduction of Frange, I think is the name of the
Riveting
promo.
Frange. Yep.
Yes. So that card is broken. And premium, heavy premium. I was there say that. Being able to get like 7 attacks and 4 Skull Dragon swings guaranteed is good. And then on top of that, the deck also is able to farm a lot of hand too, because with Frange and Ghost Ship, you're able to draw. Let's see, you get Twin Drive. Well, before you go, Ship draws 1. Swing with Frange, calls out Ship again. So that's 2 draws. Then you swing with Rose, which is 4 cards that you net out. Then you'll call out Frange on the other wing with a booster that's already behind it. And then You call like a Beatrice and call out a ship again. So the ship is going to draw you another card, and then front swings, and then you swing, call out the ship. You netted out 6 cards that's in your hand, and out of those 6, only 2 were draw checks. So you drew an additional 4. So with the introduction of that card, it pushed Night Rose to another level, right above everything else. Now I would say Thabis, on the other hand, still has a really strong matchup against Night Rose, just because Excel is supposed to be protect is supposed to beat force. That's how they kind of introduced it when B Premium initially released. But Thabis just being able to rush Night Rose kind of early. It's what kind of gives that deck an edge.
Yeah, there's a lot of like these factors that can play into where it's a better matchup in some cases, and in some cases it's like a uphill battle. So it just depends. With Night Rose's attack pattern too, on the Night Rose attack, you want to have a booster for Riveting Franche. Like the V promos do require boosters, so if you have set up another booster, maybe you can do like the Ghost Ship and then the Beatrice, and then the Beatrice can revive the Riveting Franche on the other side with an existing booster too. So
normally they put like a Cutlass or something over there.
Yeah, Cutlass usually is like easily to make and stuff like that too. So a lot of these decks have resources to do their place essentially. So if I move into their top 4, those 3 decks top 1st through 3rd as well.
Right. So my personal opinion, I feel like everything is to be expected outside of the Saint Guard, which actually I've been testing a lot of. That deck is very fun. It's very cool. Has really good early game too, as well. Being able to use the grade 2 to search out a grade 1. Then you have a Restanding Vanguard that has a crit essentially. And if you run be really bold with the deck, you can go Force 2 and put it on like the Vanguard, or put it on the not the Vanguard, but put it on the wing, because your Vanguard has a built-in crit on it.
True.
As far as like Thabis goes, I would have expected that deck, depending on what it ran into within the top 8. If it didn't fight Night Rose, I kind of expected that, to be honest. Now, Anj beating Night Rose, I can believe it. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, this Germany player actually ran the Relenka build, and it would make sense if he did. Granted, I don't like Relenka until the promo comes out. That's when Relenka gets insane. Yeah, but I also forgot that. Yeah, right. And also Thabis has their promo too.
Yeah, Thabis has had it for like the whole year essentially.
Yeah, so that's what kind of gives that deck an edge, because being able to have a Restanding Vanguard on turn 2 is kind of nice.
Oh yeah, I agree. And switching to Houston, we saw more representation for Naira specifically. We have a little bit of Luard and Steam Maintenance as well. And where is it? There it is. And then the actual top 4, both of 2 of the Nairos did convert with Alice. It's over.
All right. Esteban, that's my boy. So quick shout out to Esteban real quick, because he's officially became a member of Team Kingslayer Cards. We actually added him to the team as of recently. So hopefully his jersey comes in soon. It's really, really nice. But yes, this is kind of expected again, to be honest with you. I talked to Saram that entire event, because he kept telling me, he's like, Crow, you need to play Anj. Crow, you need to play Anj. You should have played Anj. I was like, no, I think Luard. I was like, hey, Luard is good. I just had a very, very bad run. I did have a buy card. So round 1 I had buy. Round 2, I ended up fighting a mirror match, which the guy that I lost to actually got top 8. They ended up 9 off in top 8. But the problem was, when I play him, not only did I go second, which I was fine with because I'm very mirror match, I know how to play it, like the back of my hand, but I ended up breaking really, really hard. I couldn't find a grade 2 until like turn 4. And he had already had so many force markers. Yeah. And so I was like, I couldn't play the game. If I could play the game, I think I would have probably won, because you just never know how the game goes. But I started putting him in a position where it was very, very hard for him to play.
Yeah.
But after a while, there's only so much you can do, because once you have access to at least 1 counterblast, that's really all you need, because you can always reset it. And with me being stuck on grade 1 for like the vast majority of the game, it is what it is. And mind you, I rolled knees with search. Okay, cool. Actually, I didn't with search. I hit Luard. I was like, okay, nice. Next turn, Jesus. Okay, with whatever. I wrote another knees, top 7 search. Oh, another Luard. Nice. Jesus the following turn, whiff again. Okay, I guess I just lose this game.
Yeah.
And then I end up fighting against the Astro player, which essentially that one knocked me out the tournament.
Yeah, that deck has like a lot of crit pressure that if you're not ready for it, or it's time right, like it just knocks you out.
So he had just survived my Luard turn because of the grade 3 that's a PG. He had enough of those and enough PGs in hand to actually survive my turn. He literally survived with like no cards in hand.
Yeah.
And on the follow-up turn, I just didn't have enough shield, because I used my PGs on the following turn to make sure that I could survive.
Yeah. Because
he had a grade 2 that gets 5k for every force marker. Then he had the Vanguard swinging really, really big. Literally, he only had a 3 attack turn. I got blocked like 2 out of the 3 attacks.
Yeah.
And I had at least 6 damage heal on the last one, but that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes.
Yeah, it's all understanding. So, I mean, there's always next time too.
Right. And also this match right here real quick. I can talk about the top 4 match.
Yeah. Cool.
Between Esteban and Saram. Saram played the matchup really, really well. I actually watched this match. The way that the Anj player beats Night Rose is damage denied them completely. Up until, especially if they're going second. If they're going second, you damage deny them all the way up to 3. You don't swing at their Vanguard at all. If they have a Vanguard for you to swing at, sure, but otherwise that damage deny them. And you have to force them to call out the heal to get themselves a damage, which means that they have to lack 15k shield for 1. You called something else to give yourself a damage. And on top of that means you're swinging with a trigger, which is an easier block, meaning that there's one less ghost ship that you have to worry about taking as well. So you limit the amount of cards that they draw.
I see. It's almost like a snowball effect at that point.
Yep.
Gotcha. So that's how... Oh, wait, but then the Night Rose player got 3rd. Right?
So he top decked the heal for turn 3. So he was able to start snowball because Haram hand was pretty decent, but once Esteban started taking damage, his hand was already pretty healthy because he was able to get at least a couple of ghost ships off. His ghost ships actually drew some pretty good cards.
That makes sense. Yeah, sometimes you get what you need, basically, at that point. I gotcha. Cool. Let's see. We got BCS Duluth now. So we continually see the water clans, and in top 4, we saw 3 of them in a row, with Luard in the 4th, too.
So shout out to Matthew. Shout out to Cal as well. Those are my homies. Cal is from Alabama. He's part of a Noman's team, crew. Nice. And Andrew Williams. Matthew On is actually a Georgia local. So that means Duluth was defended by Georgia. So Georgia has taken Duluth twice in B Premium back-to-back years. So kudos to my boys and myself. But Cal, really, really good match. I actually played him the round 7, I want to say it was.
Oh, wow.
Either 6 or 7. I actually have it in my notes, funny enough, because I keep track of like all my PCSs.
That's
BCSB. So yes, I actually fought him.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I fought around 7 because we had 8 rounds of Swiss. He was very strong. I actually played him before. This is actually my 2nd time ever playing him at a regional event. The first time around we played back in 2018 with me, my girlfriend, and my other best friend I've known for literally since I've grown up. We took that back in 2018, but we played them in top 8 and knocked them out. So I beat him. I beat him then because I was on Nova Grapplers, and at that time I can't remember what he was on. Oh, he was on Charlotte because that was broke down. So this was the end of the year, and then fast forward to 23, and we are fighting again 5 years later, and I beat him. I didn't qualify because he had a better resistance than me as far as records go. So the players that he ended up beating and losing to had a really, really positive record. So he was able to sneak into top 8.
Yeah.
Yep. But he is very strong. Really, really humble guy. Love him dearly. But that was one of my favorite matches. Let's see what else we had.
So with Anaheim, at first it threw me off because I saw like 3 gold paladins. I'm like, whoa, I've not seen that in a while. But then I remember it's December, and guess what? They got their promo finally, and it's making a huge difference actually.
So this is expected. This is expected in my personal opinion
too. Yeah.
So first, I'm gonna give a quick shout out to Sergio because he was the one who put this deck on the map originally because he was the first one to talk with Gergwit. Sergio loves. When I say he's a gold paladin stand, he will live on that bridge. So he'll live on that bridge. So with him doing it without the promo is insane. Just think about what his world's run is gonna look like. Whew. Right. I think he's hands down one of the best gold paladin V players in the world, personally. But looking at this pie chart here, or this top 4 breakdown, this is to be expected. I did not think Night Rose was going to sneak in at this point anymore. Reason being, not that the deck is bad or anything.
Right.
It's just if the Anj player plays the matchup the right way, they actually just win the matchup free.
It's also worth to mention that Anj has her promo too.
Yep. And
they got their promos this month. So this is actually even more validation that they got a boost from their promos. Yeah,
we actually had it in Duluth.
In Duluth as well. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, we had it in Duluth because I took that myself. Like I said, I only bricked in not top 8. The round before top 8, I bricked because I couldn't find Anj to save my life. If I found Anj, I won the game. I was against Lavas. I even high rolled him and everything. I had everything outside Anj. I just could not see her. I would even roll Tira. I would have been fine.
I gotcha. So with the promos, you would agree that the consistency just helps a lot, right?
So yep. So you remember earlier when I had mentioned the promo validates Relenka? Relenka is a great thing that says, just for those people that don't know, that Relenka says on swing, you ditch 2 copies of herself from hand, and you draw 2 cards and restand her. So essentially, she's like a Tira with a discard cost instead of a CV cost. But you also draw cards, so you net 2 off of her.
Yeah.
And then if she hits, you just add a copy from the deck or drop to your hand.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna kind of speed run through this real quick if you don't mind. So what you'll normally do is that you'll have set up a board. You have the promo on the wing, and then you have a Relenka on another wing. What you'll do is go, and you'll put the force marker on the wing wherever the Relenka is. This is kind of how I was beating the Night Rose players, like left or right. You'll go swing with Relenka, especially if they're grade 3. If they take it, cool. If they don't, cool, whatever. Because normally what you're doing, you're trying to search out at least 2 copies of that card.
Yeah.
One to have on board and one already hand preemptively. If you hit and search out another one, you're broken. So I'm gonna talk about best case scenario. Let's say you hit, right? Cool. Yeah. You search your deck, add a Relenka. Swing with the promo, counterbalance 1, bounce Relenka, call it back out. Cool. So it's attack number 2. You swing Relenka, discard 2. She restands immediately. It's just 23 again. So now that's just your 3rd attack. Swing with her again. 4th swing with Unge. Bounce everything back. So you can call like a Tira if you want to. You can call a... The multi-attacks are there because there's a bunch of on-hit pressure as well between having like Ellie on board, having Relenka. A lot of times people are scared of on-hits. So so that was expected, to be honest with you, because you just farm a bunch of cards.
Game.
Right. I had like 16 cards in my hand at one point when I was playing somebody.
Wow.
Yeah. Because of Relenka. Because Relenka is insane with the promo. Because you reset her.
Yeah.
Because she's a soft once a turn, but this is expected here. Those can get almost like 12 attacks off if you play the
oh my!
If the cards are played right, especially if you high roll your opponent, and if you can get like 2 excel markers, because you already have 5 attacks on board if you have 5 excels, and then on top of like what's that card called? Mock Slash is an extra attack, which gives you another. If you have Wonder Ezel on hand, Wonder Ezel will proc another card out. If you have the promo, which we were just talking about, it's not even for the fixer itself skill, which we'll kind of dive into that in a minute. It's more so for the multi-attack because your opponent's at grade 3, you get net out 2 cards out of deck, which if you hit like another Wonder Ezel or another copy of itself, you call out 2 more cards, then you swing with Gurgrit, you net out another 2 cards out of deck, and whatever you hit off the top of that, if it calls out more extenders, you're just going and going and going and going and going and going.
10 plus attacks easily.
Right. Well, I was saying before about the promo as well. There's technically there's 3 different builds you can play. You can play Pure Gurgit, Liberated Gurg, or you can play the Ezel Gurgit. I myself am now an Ezel Gurgit because I think it's a bit more. It's a bit more high roller too, but if you hit it off, it is very cool because the Ride Fixer almost guarantees it in a sense. It adds more to the consistency for you saying Howl or the Wonder Ezel for whatever players that you need to.
Yeah, so I could definitely see this as a contender for Worlds as well. For V Premium.
I expect to see a lot of this on stream.
That should be interesting.
It's gonna probably be like the Steam Maiden agenda all over again.
In a way, yeah. This time Go Palins get to shine again.
Right. The pun intended.
I know, right? Awesome. So let's go into Premium. Okay. So going into Premium, and what's interesting around this time, we would expect like contenders like Chaos Breaker, Narukami, and even Night Rose. But it was around this time that we started seeing a trend where Katrina started to sneak in. And not only that, but it was also in top 4 and won the event in Germany as well. And what's really cool about this deck is that a lot of the decks that I've seen play the damage inflictors with the Progenitor Dragon as well.
I actually fought that in locals, so.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I'm kind of familiar. I'll let you explain it, though.
Yeah, so from my understanding, essentially, that you can do the Progenitor Dragon turn and then make sure that you still have a damage inflictor in hand. So that way, when it's your opponent's turn, you can essentially call it with Rain Breath, the G-Guard, and give yourself the 6 damage. And then because of that, you technically lose, but the Progenitor Dragon just resets everything and ends the opponent's turn. So you can put them in a spot where they're just in an awkward spot they can't just finish off. And because it's the Progenitor Dragon, you can just free stride. You don't need a stride fighter on your draw. So you can go into Katrina and really finish the deal with the tokens and the beatdown that Katrina has.
Yep.
Anything you want to add to that, Crow?
Welcome to the French dimension.
Yeah, basically.
But yes, I just looking at this here, I kind of expected Katrina to have a really good matchup against CBD, to be honest with you, because for one, like you said, you can kind of just end their turn. Yeah, essentially. But that's not even the biggest thing. The biggest thing about this matchup here, it is very hard for the Chaos Worker player, especially if you make a board full of tokens. Because for one, if you can make a board full of tokens, or at least have only one normal unit on board, the tokens cannot be locked. Well, they lock, but they disappear. And Chaos Breaker can only do so many locking a turn. So that being said, if you have your front row freed up, with just tokens, you have to kill those tokens off because you can't sit there and zirconia them because it has to come to an open rigor circle. And if you do have managed to get one card locked on board, that's cool. But then you have to waste like a photon or either photon or glue ball avalanche to free the tokens up in the front, and then hope and pray that they don't have anything like open circle in the back row. Otherwise, they're going to zirconium. If you zirconium, they're just going to call in the back row. Or if you deluge, they're just going to call in the back row anyway. So it's very rough. Yeah. I don't think I played a Katrina that day, but I did fight a bunch of bugs that day, to be honest with you. Yeah, because I went Harry, CBD, Night Rose, Gridor, Night Rose, Melissa, Highlander, Double-Tama, Gridor. So yeah, I'm glad I actually dodged that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it hits hard too. Like even if like a regular INS build or even Musketeers, like if you can't deal with like a Katrina turn, like you just lose. That's how strong it is.
And just being able to have tokens are very strong in this format because, like I said, with control loosely, such as like CBD being able to not being able to lock tokens, Vanquisher not being able to bind tokens.
We have bind stuff; they just poof too. Yep.
You're right. So it's very, very hard for those decks.
It's a really good call with those decks too, because I remember even in Tavas when I took it to Worlds, I had tokens as well, and it was against Narukami. Like it makes it a lot harder for them to do effective like stun burst turns and really benefit from that too. Yep. So tokens, I definitely agree, are still relevant in this format for sure. So going into Houston, we also saw still more Katrina that also topped, and then also the mill deck. However, the Katrina did not make it this time, but we see a bunch of Narukami. But we also the mill deck. Too. Yeah. So anything you want to like light on here?
Yes. So this here, shout out to Francisco, shout out to Peter Van Allen, Team Eclipse, really solid players, really strong players at that. This was kind of expected, to be honest with you. Looking at the top 4 breakdown, could you back one slide, please? I just want to look at the top 8 one more time.
Yeah.
So if you actually look at this here, Bugs actually has a really tough time against Narukami. It's literally just a walk and losing matchup. Night Rose and sometimes can actually have a really bad matchup because going against MP, you just kind of die. And then if your opponent managed to get the GB8 with Narukami, you just lose as a Night Rose player. What do? You have no drop zone anymore.
Oh yeah, that thing is ridiculously power up too. Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of to be expected, to be honest with you. The Katrina build, one of the guys, shout out to Dale. That's one of my homies as well. He actually lost to Francisco. I actually watched that match in top 8, and he double critted for game. And Francisco actually managed to heal out. I think he healed on 5 because, of course, you don't have any damage, so you have a higher chance of healing.
Yeah.
Because you keep your opponent at like 1 to 0 damage.
Yeah.
But I think he hit the damage on the fifth damage check. Or I'm sorry, not on 5th, on the second damage check. On 5. He would have died, but because his opponent was only at 1 damage, he managed to heal at the 5th damage. So he took one, went to 4, and then he took another one, went to 5, hit the heal, so he went back to 4, and then he had to take his last one that put him to 5.
Yeah.
And then after that, he just kind of looped him at that point.
Yeah. I remember interviewing Francisco too, and he mentioned that he was able to survive in that moment too.
Yeah. Otherwise than that, this deck.
Because I think they were also contemplating like the judges that time about the crit distribution, but he's like, I'm just gonna take it anyway, and they spent some time. On that, and he was just like, I'm gonna take it anyway, and then that's what they ended up doing anyway. So he's like, okay, let me take these damages. And then he still healed out of it.
Right.
Which worked out still anyway, but it's pretty interesting. But yeah, it was funny too. Francisco is also known for playing Narukami, and then his deck list was also like, I wish I was playing Narukami. And then the rest of the top 4 is Narukami. Really ironic.
Right.
But I think also this is around the time that we started seeing more mill decks actually being in the top tables and actually winning events, which I hoped really just pushed Bushiroad to finally hit Martoa,
right. Deal. I think the list was finally solved. That was the biggest thing. I think a list wasn't solved just yet.
Right.
I know the deck was introduced by Mark, if I'm not mistaken, part of the team. And of course, his list was solid, and then people just kept like re-innovating their lists. And I think Francisco actually cracked the perfect list, to be honest with you. Because there was another Eve at the top. But I think he ran a couple more cards or, different ratios.
Yeah, he talks about there's like different variants of the loops too. Yeah.
Yep. So shout out to him.
Yeah, because like at the end of the day, I wish this list or this deck was just hit since the beginning. But honestly, it got hit too late.
It did.
this is pretty much November, and then by the time the balance was here, I think we only had like 1-2 BCSs left or something like that. So.
Actually, it was just one. It was just Anaheim. Yeah, because
right, it didn't take effect yet as well. Yeah, so the whole BCS season, the mill deck was legal.
And that was the reason why I took Chaos Worker myself to Duluth, because I expected to see Loop. And I did, lo and behold.
Yeah, there it is. And then if you go into the premium...
I think this was one.
Yeah, we see that it made to top 4, but we saw...
Go back.
Sure.
What's that I see right there? Is that an alt mile? I actually watched it. Right. I actually watched an alt mile player. That dude was cracked. Actually, shout out to him too, because I actually played him in V Premium, because that was the guy I actually bricked against, because he was playing Thomas. No. Yeah, when I was playing Anj in Duluth for B Premium.
Okay, gotcha. Yep.
But that deck is actually insane. Georgia Loco Miles is a huge Royal Paladin fan, and he started playing that deck. That deck is actually really, really solid, especially with the promo and stuff. But shout out to the Joe Knight player as well, Aries Dorito, which is part of Team Kings on our cards. Shout out to the player that won, Aries Kinzia. That is one of my homies. Finally got an opportunity to meet him. Phenomenal player. This is his second time qualifying for. I want to say it's his second time. Maybe it's third time qualified for Worlds. So yeah, but Highlander is just a really solid deck.
Yeah, it's so solid, especially in Premium as well. And then it was interesting seeing No Life King again.
So he actually fought the Loop deck in semifinals and beat it. How? I don't know, because they were so far off. I really couldn't see the match. But
my guess is that he had one CV. One CB, and then he just popped off still. Yeah,
because the deck is pretty fragile.
I'm talking about for the Dark Irregulars. Like, they just need one CB, and then they just do what they do best. You know?
Oh, yeah. I was saying that the Loop deck is still kind of fragile, too.
Oh, yeah, so if the... Maybe it didn't hold up as well. I see what you're saying. I got you.
Yeah, and especially, like you said, the one CB, if they're running Edge and Darkness, they countercharge back, too, if they call it off. We'll hope on that.
Like, these players, like, if they're taking No Life King still in this, like, year of age, you know, they know what they're doing with the deck. Yeah.
Hey, shout out to Nicky Goldman. He was the one that put that thing on the map.
Yeah,
he was going crazy like with the previous years. Shout out to Lloyd too. That's another homie of mine as well. He was on pure Vanquisher. No
E-Rat. That's why they changed the. Okay.
Yes, that is pure Vanquisher that you see on the screen, my guys. He is insane. I literally walked up to him and said, "Lloyd, why are you playing pure Vank?" He goes, "I like Demolition." All right, you got it.
Fair enough. So this was the hit ban list with Demolition already. Okay, gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah, Demolition Dragon, it really puts in a lot of work in the early game too, like for Norikami. So it's hard to like give that up. Like I would still pick Demolition as well. Let's see what else we got. Anaheim. So what's interesting, we saw some older decks return into top 8, Nightmare Dolls and even Rising Nova as well. But we still see some of the newer decks like Katrina again. And then, of course, we're still seeing like the old Narukami, Mega Colony, and Grand Blue as well. Yeah, this is the top 4 for them. And
I did not
9 more. Go ahead.
So I kind of skipped over it. I seen the top 8 pie chart, but I did not see the top 4.
Yeah. I was just say, and the Nightmare Dolls one.
So I'll say
which is awesome.
Nightmare Dolls is really, really strong. Like once they pop off, they kind of just bully you, especially depending on how much damage you give them. And if you don't hit a defensive trigger, you just kind of get steamrolled. And it's even worse if they hit it off on their loop turn.
Yeah.
Off the Leslie. Looking at this here, depending on who he had to fight, he probably might have had a easy bracket or a more favorable bracket for his deck. Ride Down is also really strong too, by the way. Like, I was
gonna say that if that person avoided like the Mega Colony that was in top 8, that's like the ideal like top 8 run that you're looking for.
And like I said, Ride Down is really good. This format still, a lot of people it's kind of overshadowed with the history collection stuff. But this is my theory as well. And the same thing that Dave Vex said. Yeah, it's strong due to the sheer fact that you are forcing your opponent to stride into their worst stride.
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it. Yep.
And if you can survive their worst stride, especially with this deck here, the more damage they give you, the better off you are, because now you can Leslie loop with Alice
and everything. Yep.
Right.
In the mix.
So
this is where you need Hanoli. Basically.
Right. Exactly.
This is why I still play Hanoli.
Same. But that's
Yep.
So that's pretty much probably what this person did was they stuck to the game plan. It's like, you know what? I don't think there's going to be a lot of bugs. I expect to see a lot of Night Rolls. I expect to see a lot of everything else. And they probably had a favorable bracket.
Yeah, I was going to say too, like even probably in the Swiss rounds, like, you know, if people are going first or second, they already put that in their mind that like Well, if they're going first, they're going to automatically go into the history collection stride. So they may not grab the grade 3 for their deck to have it just in case they need to go into it.
Right.
But if they do the write down and then they're back on grade 2, now it puts the other player in like, oh, shoot, I should have grabbed my grade 3 that goes into the history collection. And even that can lose a lot of momentum too.
Even thinking about like some decks are forced to kind of go into their history collection stride first, regardless of anything. So another play that you could do, because I've also started doing this with Gear Chronicles since I played the deck hybrid.
Yeah.
Is I will actually, if I go first, I ride up. Sometimes I might even ride down just so that way I can generate another marker, because I already know that your stride won't kill me if you're going into your history collection stride, or even if you're going into your best stride, especially against like if you're forced to ride, let's say, you don't have any markers. Okay, cool. I'm fine with that. But if you have to ride Asha, you want to go into your history collection stride because you want your markers. So guess what? Now I get to bully you, and I have multiple markers now. Instead of just the 2, I have the 3 on the crackback because I can just rewrite another grade 3. And then I have 3 cell markers. Yeah. Same thing with Night Rose too. Since they kind of want their protect markers, so 9 times out of 10 they're probably going into Bandit Roam.
Yeah. It's preferable to like Obadiah, like Obadiah, you still want your pieces, but Obadiah is still not as great.
Right.
So for me, I've updated Night Rose to with the V promo with Riveting Frange to help like the Obadiah turns as well too. So but there are decks that are just better with their first strides, like you mentioned, or history collection strides, or
Nubatama is an example.
Yeah, Nubatama's, they don't care.
Right.
Yeah, they're like, I'm going in one way or another. I feel you. So
they just lose to Highlander and Night Rose.
Yeah.
And Katrina too. They have some bad matchups.
Yes, Katrina is hard, even with Nubatama. That was one of my losses at BCS Rosemont too. That's why I'm saying like even Katrina is still relevant even in this format. So I think as a consensus, a lot of the decks in this metagame had pros and cons against different decks. So I felt like this format was fun for Premium.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, there was a lot to do. There was a lot to experiment. There was a lot to, like, learn at the event. I didn't expect to face and lose the way that I lost at BCS Rosemont.
That's how I felt in Houston, because I fought against one of the Team Ham guys.
Yeah.
And he was playing OTT Witches. And, of course, he does the Ikikishima turn. And I'm sitting at 1 damage, by the way. I'm playing Steam-Mated Jet.
Yeah.
I actually had that game won, but of course you can guess what happened. OT. So he goes and he was like, "Oh, how did you die, Crow? At 1 damage." I just make it real quick. 1 damage. He goes. He swings with his Vanguard, right?
Yeah.
He checks. His first check was red OT, and I'm under Ikikishima. I'm like, okay, it's fine. I'm still chilling, right? I know guard his Vanguard. Actually, no, I hard guarded his Vanguard. That's what it was. I hard guarded his Vanguard for a 2 to pass. And he checks the red OT. He puts on the rigor, obviously, because he doesn't get any value putting the power on the Vanguard.
Right.
I was okay, cool, that's fine. I'm chilling.
Was it a popo?
No, he didn't have the full setup yet for it, because I was like just pushing early, like I needed to against that matchup.
Yeah.
And like I said, I had a bunch of shield in my hand, but half my hand was cut off. Then he does his plays or whatever. Because I'm at this point, I think I was playing Ride Up Jet. Yeah, I was playing Ride Up Jet.
Okay.
And he does his turn or whatever. Checks red OT, puts on the rigor, cool. Check blank, check crit. And then he was about to shotgun, put the crit on the Vanguard. And he thought about it. He says, wait, put the crit on the Rigard that has the... Because I know guard... No, trash check. I'm sorry. I know guard the Vanguard. Red OT on the Rigard. And he gave the power to the other Rigard just so that I could touch. Yeah. Or at least get the shield out. And then he put the crit on the... on the Rigard that's going to restand. I was like, in my head, I was like, that's what I didn't want you to do. Because he was about to shotgun, go crit Vanguard, power over here. If he would have did that, I won. Because I could deal with the 2 restands off the Rigard, and then I hard block the purple, the purple, and the yo-yo that he had on the wing. I couldn't deal with the double crit off the restand.
No, that's brutal. Let me transition real quick.
Okay.
But yeah, like it's kind of a crazy BCS season for 2023. We saw all 3 formats really change over time, which is good because it can get boring if it doesn't change for like basically 6 months almost.
For sure.
And, go ahead.
Yeah, this format it's fun, but it feels very RPS. Just rock, paper, scissors. Because it's like, I take this deck, I hope I don't run into my bad matchups. If I run into my favorable matchups, cool. If I run into a 50-50 matchup, cool. But if I run into this bad matchup, it's bad. And that's kind of how I felt in Duluth, because I took Casbreaker. And I felt like that was my best pick during that time, which I'm glad I did take it. Granted, I wanted to play Steammates. I literally almost like shotgun last minute. It was all right, playing Steammates. Screw it. Nope, glad I took it. But I ended up running into Highlander like round 6. I want to say no, I thought it was round 6. I think it was my 5th round. Yeah, my 5th round right to Highlander, which is my literal worst matchup. I feel like I could have played the matchup a tiny bit better, but again, it's
already hard enough.
Right. Yeah. You have to play absolutely perfect, and you still need some stuff to go your way. I think one play I could have done was because he had made a column at one point.
Yep.
And he had to bounce it back to call another card to the rear. I should have Cosmo Reef, and then I had the promo to unlock a guy.
Yeah.
That was like the only play, but I was trying to save it for his. I was trying to play optimally because I didn't want to waste resources.
Yeah, I get it. You there's a lot of resource management when it comes to chaos. Yeah, I understand.
So, but it's a very RPS format, but it's fun. I say that nonetheless.
I agree. Yeah, compared to like the past few years, Premium has also become more fun too. With Worlds coming up, I expect a lot of cool or innovative players really get creative with Premium, and then also like it'll be interesting seeing V Premium how it pans out with Gurgoid and Anj.
Right.
And then Standard, I think we have set 13 at that point too, and then I don't know if there's any other support, but that's gonna be different. So I'm excited for that as well. So besides that, I think that's all I got for today. Anything else you want to say? Or you even do shout outs, Crow?
Yeah, just skip straight to shout outs. So shout out to my sponsor, Kingslayer Cards. Shout out to our previous sponsor, Triple Sleeve TCG as well. Check those guys out on TCG Player. Shout out to my personal team, Team Crow's Nest. All those players are phenomenal. So be on the lookout for those guys. They are coming up. I promise you. I'm coaching some big names pretty soon. Hopefully we can make waves next season.
That's awesome.
We are having our 2K Invitational for Kingslayer Cards coming up in January 20th and 21st. So if you guys have an invite, or even if you don't have an invite, I know plenty of people with extra invites. So if you guys are interested onto Lakeland, Florida, you see it posted on Facebook, Twitter, even on Instagram. Richard Garcia, he posted on Instagram as well. So if you guys want to, come on up, see if you want some quick cash. And it's always a good time at those events. And lastly, March 30th, I have a premium event, no OT. I just landed a new venue, got hit up by another venue, really, really nice. It's almost like a big hobby shop. So for anybody that knows about Frankensons and how they have it set up, there was a bunch of different like hobby stations, like Gundam stuff, Bill Gundams.
That's cool.
Funko Pops, things like that. It's like a big old, think of it like a mini anime con. That's pretty much what that venue is. And they have hit me up and was like, hey, we want you to host events here. So March 30th, premium format, 1K tournament, no OT.
That sounds fun. So, that's really cool.
And the very last thing,
sure,
we have some really, really big things coming up as far as like events go through this year. Of course, I got some other plans for the community as a whole, what I'm trying to get done. But I can sit there and give a slight spoiler. We are hosts, like pretty soon, Kingslayer and I are talking about hosting more events in Georgia for one thing, at the new venue that I managed to land. So it's a lot easier to get access to Georgia than it is trying to go all the way out to Florida. Georgia is pretty much a hub. But we are thinking about hosting big money tournaments, like not a 1K, not a 2K. We're talking about like 6K, but it's pretty much like between like 5 to 6K, 4 to 6K, like cash. Yeah. So we're trying to work out dates, work out numbers. We usually host events like multiple times throughout the year. I will be hosting like 4 times a year. Kingslayer will be doing it twice, but the 2 times they do it will be big money tournaments. So keep an eye out for that. We will talk more details on that soon, and you will see it plastered everywhere. And again, shout out to you. Thank you so much for having me on the channel. It's always an honor talking to you, and just being able to chit chat with you is always fun.
Absolutely. I appreciate it for even like hopping on the channel again. I appreciate other people from the community putting their like perspective and also willing to share and help others. Like those are the type of people I mesh well and would like to like have on the channel more often too. So I appreciate you and the rest of Kingslayer. You guys have been phenomenal. I still buy cards from you, like even through TCG Player as well. And then those come in, and I always like think about you guys in the back of my head too. For those players that want to practice for like, you're very welcome for like upcoming like Spring Fest or even like future BCS events. Like I encourage you to check out like KSC's tournaments and even Crow's tournaments, because like cash is cash. It drives the competitiveness out of people because like there's money on the line too. So that's really cool. So that way, once you're ready for Bushiroad's events, like you're ready in the mode, you're willing to top and get qualified for Worlds for the next year too. So definitely encourage that. So without further ado, on to the next one, amigos. Bye.
Peace.